Hello everyone, I'm Joke Rogers here in Lagos, Nigeria. We begin in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the M23 rebel group, the DRC military and its affiliates are all believed to have committed gross rights violations, including summary executions and rampant sexual violence in the provinces of North and South Kivu. The latest findings are coming from UN investigators who are warning of possible war crimes and crimes against humanity. Since taking up arms at the end of 2021, the M23 has seized swathes of land in the restive region, allegedly backed by Rwanda, triggering an armed conflict with the DRC military, resulting in a spiraling humanitarian crisis that has killed thousands and displaced at least 7 million people. A fresh surge of unrest broke out early this year when the M23 captured the key cities of Goma and Bukavu, where they set up their own administrations. Meanwhile, the M23 movement has condemned the Kinshasa government's suspension of free education in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, denouncing the decision as discriminatory and unjust, and vowing to defend it as a national constitutional right, not a government gift. Speaking at a press conference in Goma, the group's educational affairs officer, Chantal Murakatete, emphasized that education is a right guaranteed by Article 43 of the country's constitution. She criticized the government for poor governance and embezzlement, citing delayed teacher salaries, overcrowded classrooms, and neglected school infrastructure, accusing Kinshasa of diverting World Bank funding meant for all 26 provinces. Staying in the DRC, the country's public health minister, Samuel Mulamba, has officially confirmed a new Ebola outbreak in Kasai, with 23 cases and 15 deaths recorded. This marks the country's 16th epidemic since the virus was first identified. The index case was a 34-year-old pregnant woman who died after suffering severe symptoms, including high fever, bloody diarrhea, and vomiting blood. The minister notes that while Ebola spreads rapidly once symptoms appear, the Zaire strain has both an available vaccine and treatment, giving authorities confidence they can contain it. He urged the public to adopt preventive measures, stressing that regular hand washing is essential, urging citizens to report suspected symptoms immediately. The DRC has treatment supplies and 2,000 doses of vaccine ready in Kinshasa, which will be dispatched to Kasai. Elsewhere on the continent, in Sudan's Darfur region, people gather in silence, praying where the village of Tarasin once stood, paying their respects in the shadow of unthinkable loss following a catastrophic landslide that wiped out this part of the country. So far, 375 bodies have been recovered and laid to rest, but the Sudan Liberation Movement warns the death toll could climb to 1,000. The UN says the full scale of the disaster is still unclear, as the region is remote and nearly unreachable, fueling fears that an entire community has vanished. The landslide struck the Mara Mountains, a World Heritage Site known for its cooler climate and rainfall, a rare sanctuary now shattered. It complicates the situation for a region already stricken by conflict, with crippling restrictions and fighting between the military and the RSF, which limits access for UN aid groups. Meanwhile, aid workers have delivered the first humanitarian supplies to survivors of the landslide using donkeys to reach a remote mountain village in the western Darfur region. Heavy rains and flash floods that hit Tarasin village triggered the disaster, meaning donkeys were the best available means of transportation to reach the affected families. It took the team more than a full day on a rocky, muddy, and hilly route to reach the devastated community. Once there, the group will assess the scale of the emergency and the requirements for additional supplies and emergency materials, and will launch a fuller emergency response once the needs are established. And UN High Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs Volker Turk has warned of further deterioration in the humanitarian rights situation in Mali amid deepening democratic backsliding, rising insecurity, and a crackdown on civil society. On July 8th, the transitional president signed into law a bill allowing the presidential terms to be renewed without elections. Earlier on May 13, a presidential decree dissolved all political parties and affiliated organizations. These legal changes have effectively slammed the door on democratic elections in Mali for the foreseeable future, violating citizens' rights to participate in public affairs, to vote, and to be elected. The UN Rights Office states that the weaponization of law to suppress dissent must be urgently halted.
We are today warning of a further deterioration in the human rights situation in Mali amid deepening democratic reversals, rising insecurity, and a crackdown on civil society. On the 8th of July, the transitional president signed into law a bill providing for presidential terms to be renewable without elections, as many times as necessary until peace is restored in the country. A separate presidential decree on the 13th of May dissolved all political parties and organizations of a political nature. These legal changes have slammed the door shut on democratic elections in Mali for the foreseeable future, in violation of the right of every citizen to participate in public affairs, as well as to vote and to be voted for at genuine periodic elections. They must be promptly rescinded. These reversals come at a time when Malian authorities continue to grapple with violence by armed groups, which have intensified their attacks and continue to kill, injure, abduct, threaten, and intimidate civilians, as well as destroy or loot their property. Malian troops, backed by foreign military personnel from the Africa Corps, which was formerly known as Wagner Group, have also committed serious violations against civilians in their response to the Islamic insurgency. Malian troops, backed by foreign military personnel from the Africa Corps, formerly Wagner Group, have also committed serious violations against civilians in their response to the Islamist insurgency. Credible information obtained by the UN Human Rights Office recently shows that since April alone, there have been hundreds of extrajudicial executions, arbitrary arrests and detentions, enforced disappearances, and other abductions by all parties. A growing number of journalists and human rights defenders have also been abducted or arbitrarily detained since the 2021 coup. All individuals that have been arbitrarily detained must be immediately and unconditionally released.
Director of Operations and Advocacy Division at the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, el-Maulud, has visited 2 displacement sites in Berhan City, located in Ethiopia's Amhara region. The visit will allow the UN official assess the ongoing humanitarian situation in the country, engage directly with IDP communities and frontline responders, and advocate for solutions and increased response. Local authorities and humanitarian agencies are urging greater international attention and increased resources to meet the growing needs of those in the camps.
It is not right for human beings to live in such indignity. The message from the camp manager was very clear. An IDP himself, who once owned a hotel and a farm, they just want to live in peace. They want to farm their lands. These conditions are not fair. These conditions is what is wrong with war. These conditions are robbing these children, Hawa and her friends, of a future. It is cold in this camp. Everyone is wearing a sweater. It is not warm. It is humid. The floors are concrete. People have no mattresses.
Elsewhere, South Africa prepares to host the 2025 G20 summit. Gauteng province is on a mission to clean up the city. Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says government is on a mission to demolish informal settlements and evict land grabbers. The Premier adds that over the past year, there are about 400 informal settlements that have been created, some even in urban areas. Gauteng Province will host the G20 summit in November.
Unfortunately, there are going to be unprecedented number of evictions and dismantling of informal settlement in our province. The number of informal settlements that are mushrooming, even in our urban areas and in some areas within our cities, is now reaching at disturbing levels, and we have no choice but to fight back and push back those that have taken advantage of the legal gaps that are available within this sector. So the new 400 informal settlement that has emerged in the last few months, we are now committing ourselves through the Department of Human Settlement, the Department of Home Affairs, and all law enforcement agencies to dismantle, if not to completely relocate those that we think that need to be formalized. We are of the strong view there is a new organized crime that is happening within the informal settlement sector. And as government, we have no choice but to respond with the necessary force if needed.
Still in South Africa, a diverse indigenous group, the Khoisan people, have marched to the parliament in Cape Town to hand over a memorandum of demands. The group, which claims to be the first nation of South Africa, says it has been sidelined and is calling for the government to to ensure it's recognized, including their traditional ways and rights to land. For the G20 around the corner, the Khoisan community claims to be left out from the summit and is calling on President Cyril Ramaphosa's resignation. They've given government 14 days to respond. Muslims across Africa are celebrating el-Maulud, also known as el-Maulud Nabil, to commemorate the birth of Prophet Muhammad. The celebration falls on the 12th day of Rabi al-Awwal, the third month of the Islamic lunar calendar. Muslims observe this occasion through prayers and reflect on the life, wisdom, and character of the Prophet. It's also an opportunity for Muslims to express gratitude to Allah for sending Prophet Muhammad as a messenger. The Lagos State government in southwest Nigeria has announced plans to relaunch waste sorting from households and marketplaces in order to keep the state clean. This was made known by the managing director of the Lagos State Waste Management Authority, Mr. Muyiwa Gbadegesin, at the 2025 annual lecture of the Property and Environment Writers Association of Nigeria. He says the new organic waste process facility has been established in Ekpe area of the state to strengthen efforts in building a cleaner and more sustainable modern waste management in the state.
How best to keep Lagos clean from indiscriminate waste disposal and air pollution is the focus of this 2025 annual lecture organized by the Property and Environment Writers Association of Nigeria. Environment experts and other key stakeholders are here to prefer possible solutions on how to manage waste in Lagos State.
The theme of this year's lecture, the place of waste management in relation to the Lagos State government's Team Plus agenda and the role of private sector operators, is a critical issue that affects us all, and there can never be a better time than now.
Speakers at the event advocate sorting of waste from the source for other benefits and must be championed by both public and private sector.
I believe that we need to reposition our habits in terms of what we acquire, what we consume, then revalue the resources around us. We should look forward to converting our waste to other resources so that we can minimize the things that we discard.
Yeah, the biggest challenge of waste management in Lagos is about the people. It's about the people. And I believe if there is more education, more sensitization there can be a change which can bring good improvements to waste management in Lagos. This opportunity.
The Managing Director of Lagos State Waste Management Authority highlights the new initiatives coming on board to help manage waste across the state.
Our immediate priority is to deliver and de-risk the transfer and recovery backbone. We have an 18-month timeline to complete the transfer loading stations and material recovery facilities. From day one, from each of those transfer loading stations and material recovery facilities, we want to publish the throughputs, how much waste was treated, how much plastic was recovered, how much organic waste was processed. And in parallel, we want to relaunch segregation at source from households, estates, markets, schools, and hospitality outlets.
The State Environmental Protection Agency also insists on strict adherence to regulations in preventing noise pollution.
On vehicular emissions, we've partnered with LAGVIS, the Vehicle Inspection Service, that is saddled with responsibility of measuring emissions once a year from all of your vehicles when you go for MOT, right? And that data is shared with us. We insist that we insist that people don't shoot beyond certain points or certain standards. We have set our standards, and LAGVIS enforces that standard.
For these professionals, the way forward in ensuring a cleaner Lagos lies in stronger policies, smarter technology, and continuous public education in order to manage the pressures of rapid urbanization in the state.
Nigeria's animation industry is growing fast, and a partnership with France has given it a global boost. At the center of this collaboration is the animated feature film, The Passport of Malam Elia. We take you inside Magic Carpet Studios in Lagos to see how these collaborations are bringing African stories to life.
At the Magic Carpet Studios in Lagos, these Nigerian animators are bringing local stories to life. The country's animation industry has come a long way in just a few years. From short films and commercials to feature-length productions, it is no longer on the sidelines.
I think the industry is currently, at its very formative stages. I think there are so many studios doing well and also seeking funding for their projects as well. And I think we have quite a lot of talents around Nigeria and people that are willing to explore art in really unique ways. I just feel like, we just need to fund projects and fund animators before, they start considering Plan B, leaving the country, and we will no longer have these people.
Though the growth is clear now, the journey has not been easy. Animation is a demanding industry. It takes long hours, advanced tools, and constant training to meet international standards. For many Nigerian studios, keeping up can be tough, but with the support of French partners, their work is now crossing borders and gaining recognition.
The industry is very demanding in terms of, the tools you use, the access you have to certain information. And I think, like I said, the French embassy has provided a lot of these things for the industry in such a way that we've seen some very good rapid growth, something that we're very excited about.
Since 2022, the French embassy in Nigeria has been helping local professionals take part in some of the world's biggest animation events, like the Annecy International Animation Film Festival and MIP Junior in Cannes. These opportunities have opened doors for training, collaboration, and partnerships that continue to move the industry forward. As part of the co-production of The Passport of Malam Elia, these two animators spent 2 weeks at Charlie Dobbin, a post-production studio in Paris.
It was very refreshing in a way that you know, it was just unique. And I think they kind of opened our minds to post-production. And that's one area that currently we've been in productions, we've created short films, but we've not really seen, you know, the capacity or scale of maybe what it takes to make, to edit or create like a feature-length film and, you know, do post-production in terms of sound of that massive scale.
The experience gave them a rare opportunity to see how international studios work and to bring that knowledge back home to strengthen projects here in Nigeria.
I think there are things that, you know, we're already applying. Again, it was a very exciting experience because even when we went through it, right, there were certain things we were seeing and we were like, oh, wow, okay, we didn't know this was possible. And I think we had to swing right into action in terms of the application. And we're very excited in terms of the results already.
One of the standout projects born from this partnership is the Passport of Malam Ilia. The animated feature, now in production at Magic Carpet Studios, is in collaboration with the French company I Find Pictures.
So far, so good. It's been an interesting ride, adapting the work of late Cyprian Quincy, a Nigerian veteran literature writer, journalist. And we're also partnering with the family, the Quincy Foundation as well, to making this possible.
Another important link is with Gobelin, a famous animation school in Paris. A Nigerian student in his final year at Gobelin spent 6 weeks at Magic Carpet Studios, joining the production team of the Passport of Malam Ilia.
Because there's not a lot of 2D animation talent in the country, and since I am someone who has been given the opportunity to be able to study in a worldwide acclaimed school, and also being Nigerian, it's easy for the French embassy to bring me over to help push the projects forward in terms of good quality animation and yeah.
The journey of Nigeria's animation is still unfolding, but what we can already see is how far it has come. With support from the French embassy and partnerships with international studios, young creators are getting the skills and exposure they need to share African stories with the world.
And finally on the program, did you know that the Yankari Game Reserve in Bauchi State in northeastern Nigeria is home to the largest population of West African savanna elephants? The park spans over 2,200 square kilometers and serves as a vital refuge for a variety of endangered species. Its elephant population, which roams freely through the savanna and woodland ecosystems, is estimated to be the largest remaining group in the entire West African sub-region. And that's our program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Joke Rogers.